You know what the most annoying thing about patient reviews online is that the happy patients you have, which is probably most of the patients that you have, never give them on their own. But the unhappy people do, don't they? They find all sorts of time to rip you a new one. But the happy patients, boy, they just never do. So my guest today has got some ideas that are going to help you ask your happy patients, which is really what you've got to do. I'm Carl White, principal at Market Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. That's what they want. And let's face it, care is better when the provider, the doctor, the dentist, whoever owns the place and has the most freedom that is possible to make the clinical decisions that are best for their patients. And my guest today is Barbara Khozam. Barbara owns and runs Barbara Khozam Incorporated, which is a customer and patient experience consulting practice. Barbara is a prolific speaker. She's spoken more than 1,700 times to more than 75,000 people in 12 countries about customer service, leadership, motivation, and communication. And in 2019, she was chosen as the top customer service consultant of the year by the International Association of Top Professionals. In 2021, she achieved the Certified Patient Experience Professional CPXP designation. The certification, which is awarded by the Patient Experience Institute, signifies that recipients possess the qualities of a leader who influences the systems, processes, and behaviors that cultivate consistently positive experiences with knowledge and practical experience necessary to pass a rigorous examination. And one other thing to note, Barbara is a repeat guest here on Practice Care, for which I am very, very grateful. Barbara, thank you for finding some time again to come on Practice Care.
Yay, Carl, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be with you. I love this topic.
Yes, me as well. Me from the marketing side, you from the customer experience side. And what we
Yes.
what we were talking about, what are we going to talk about for you to come back on? You brought up reviews. And so just to press the obvious button, give us the connection in your mind between patient experience and reviews.
Well, so Carl, as you know, my perspective is from that of the patient. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
but I am a professional mystery patient. I've been in and out of doctors' offices for many, many years.
Mm.
So if you get in the shoes of a patient, and you look at, well, how do they pick a doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do they pick and how do they make decisions on doctors? Well, most patients, even if they get a good referral, over
Mm-hmm.
80% of them go online
Mm-hmm.
and look at those reviews. And if those reviews are what, all 1 star or they're 5 years old,
Yeah.
that's going to influence whether they move forward or not. So
Yes.
it's a big deal nowadays.
It is, and it's one of this. I say jokingly, one of the saddest statistics that I've ever seen. It was something to the effect of people trust reviews from that they see online just about as much as they trust the recommendation from their own friends and family.
That's
So
correct.
either their friends and family are people they don't really like, or there's something to that number, right? I mean, there's
Right.
just something, which is, and the reason it's sad to me is you trust what you read from a bunch of strangers to you. You don't know any of the people who
Mhm.
left reviews as much as people you love and trust. But there it
That's
is,
correct.
you know,
Right, right. I
and
agree.
and there's nothing new about that.
Right,
There's nothing new
right,
about that. So
right.
so when you consult with clients, I mean, how often would you say, for every 10 clients you consult with, X number of them, just the reviews are not where you think they ought to be?
Well, oh gosh, most of my clients, when I first start working with them,
Mm-hmm.
have very few reviews. And
Mm-hmm.
the one, and it's either, and you know this because this is your business, but they're either 1 stars or 5 stars. Like
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to leave a 3 star review. Why would they? What's three? Three is like, man,
I know.
they weren't great. They weren't. Why would they take the time? They wouldn't. But when I first start working with most people, it's either ones or fives, and there's not very many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through a process of, getting more. Like the whole goal is you got to drown out the ones with the fives.
Right.
In fact, I was attending a webinar like 2 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it said that 80+% of patient comments are positive. 80+% of patient comments are positive, but we're not getting that. We're not asking for them,
Mm-hmm.
and so we could take proactive efforts to get those comments in writing,
Yeah.
and we'll start getting better results.
Yeah, and it's similar. It just goes back to people who are happy with, like, the expectation, Dr. X, is that you're going to do a good job. You're supposed to do a good job. It doesn't
Right.
immediately register with somebody who's happy that they should tell other people about it, or it would be a good thing to tell other people about it in the form of
Right.
a review. So when you
Right.
don't do a good job, or the perception is when you're angry, you'll just find the time to tell
That's
lots of
right.
people. And
Right.
and I got to tell you, the platforms, Google, Facebook, Yelp, most of them make it really, really hard for you, the recipient of that bad review, to get it removed.
That's correct.
Because some of them aren't always helpful. Some of them aren't real. There's some fake ones out there.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and in the world of, healthcare with HIPAA land, even replying to them, which we could debate whether it's even a good idea to reply to a negative review or not. But with HIPAA land, you're so constrained that it's
That's
just
right.
not that, really can't say much anyway. So yeah,
Right.
so you got to ask. You're right. So you have to
Right.
ask, suck it up,
That's
swallow
right.
hard and embrace it. You got to ask. So
That's right.
what kinds of
Yeah.
things do you tell them? What kinds of things do you put in place, to get your client with a couple of fives, a couple of ones that are all 6 years old to start asking for reviews?
Oh, how do I get them to ask for more
Yeah, like,
reviews?
when you meet them or when they start working with you, you're like, your reviews are not where they need to be. And then part of
I
what you help
just
them with.
basically what I have found with especially doctors, they like data. So I
Mm-hmm,
share with them the data. And I
mm-hmm,
I actually do, I call it a social media analysis. So I pretend like I'm a patient,
mm-hmm,
and I will type in, for example, primary care doctor in, and then place whatever city they're in.
mm-hmm,
And then I just look at the results
mm-hmm,
and I see where, first of all, my client falls. Do
mm-hmm,
you even come up when I Google you?
mm-hmm,
And if so, what are people saying about? So I just show them, "Look, this is
mm-hmm.
where you lie. Here are your results, and this is what people say about you."
Yeah, I've done the
And
same thing. Google them, and
that
then
speaks for
yeah,
themselves,
yeah,
right?
I know, right? Orthodontist in whatever city, and I just show them, and they say, let's just look at the reviews, and
Right,
you have
right,
less than these other two,
right.
and no matter how much better you
Exactly.
think they are, the
Hmm.
the parent at 11 o'clock at night who just got her kids to bed or his kids to bed is not going to spend the time to read your bios.
That's
They're
right.
looking for a way to streamline this search process, and
Right.
you have fewer,
That's right.
and they're older.
Fewer and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you show them the data, and then I have to tell you, I find some of my clients really, when we start doing reviews programs, some of them really gravitate to it and they really embrace it and they build the habit. And some just never seem to, I don't know, get there. I don't know what it is. Or there's a burst and then they go quiet again. Like,
Hmm.
what do you do to get them in the habit and keep them in the habit?
Well, for me, it's got to be a team effort. So my most successful clients, the doctors start it, right? They're like, yes, we want to get more reviews, but they're doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So the office manager or somebody like that kind of takes over.
Mm-hmm.
So they will, like, for example, sign up with a program like you that makes it easy. Like, how do
Right.
we get these reviews easily? Like, let's send a text immediately when they leave, and they just click a button. They can leave like that. Make it easy for them.
Make it
But
easy.
if it's hard, if you're asking a patient, can you please check your email and then log on to Google? Like, they're not going to do that.
No, they're not.
So,
They're not.
how do you help them make it easy?
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
had
a
a client
skill.
once who said, yeah, well, at one point we tried to teach our patients, quote, how to do Yelp. And I said, so how'd that go? Didn't go well. Nobody
No,
knows how to do
no.
Yelp.
They can't even use the patient portal. How are they going to go to Yelp and then
I
put a review
know.
on there? Come
I
on.
know. And,
Jeez.
it's funny you mentioned that. We have just in our household, 2 or 3 different patient portals because every provider has their own freaking portal. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
right.
seriously?
Right.
You
I
know?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we make it easy and then not ask them 15 billion questions?
Mm-hmm.
A couple questions. It could be the, net promoter score question even.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend us to your family and friends? And then
Mm-hmm.
why did you answer it that way?
Mm-hmm.
You can learn a lot by just those two questions.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
I love Net Promoter Score. I love
right.
it.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
Hmm.
powerful. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Have you come across one thing that I found? You have to ask each patient more than one time.
Hmm.
So a lot of people they'll put like a link like in their email signature and on the bill and a lot of different places, and that can chip away. But unless it's a trigger to say, ask me more than once, it's just not going to work. And you talk about looking at the data. I looked at some clients' data. Without a doubt, every client easily 80 to 90% of the reviews that they get are on the second or third ask of whoever is they're
Mm,
asking. People are just busy, they're well intentioned, but they miss. It's almost like nobody does something like ever. The first time you ask
right.
them to do whatever it is, you've got to
Right.
ask them a second or third time.
And I think that you actually made a good point is like asking them,
Mm-hmm.
hey, was your experience good? Hey, would you do us a favor? And
Mm-hmm.
could you do that review for us? That would be great. It was so helpful.
Yeah.
As opposed to here, you get a text with a link or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I may not be inclined, but if someone asked, hey, we would
Yeah.
really appreciate your feedback on your
Yeah.
experience. Oh, okay, all right.
I
Like
know.
it's kind of a combo for me,
It
you know?
is, and it's best if you can look them in the eye. Absolutely. Hey,
That's
would you
right.
mind? Would you,
Right.
as one client, would you do us a solid and it would just help us get the word out? And yeah,
Right.
sure. Send them the link, and then yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I've had clients say to me, you know, we want we want our front desk to do that. Really, it's going to end up at the front desk's job to do
Yeah.
this. But with the phone always ringing and people always come in,
Right.
how do we, like, I could be on the phone with scheduling somebody and three patients just walked out because they were done. And how do we, Barbara, how do we make that happen? I
I
mean, how do,
think, I think it starts with the provider.
yeah.
I think the provider's got it because the perception from the patient is the provider, ooh, the provider asked me,
Hmm.
and then the front desk could say, oh, okay, remember the review thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if the provider asked, it would have a little bit more impact, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree. I've yet to be successful in convincing them, look, you'll get more if
Right.
you say something.
Right.
Say something with the patient. They just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It
Right.
just feels pushy. It feels, I don't know why it's pushy, but I'm not walking in their
Well, it could
shoes.
be
Like,
how you add. It could be, please leave us a review, or hey, we would appreciate your feedback.
yeah.
We really want to make sure we're caring for you the way that you want us to, and
Hmm.
and we're delivering on our expectations. We really appreciate it. It's not like please give us 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And say these
We give you
things.
a coupon. Here's, oh, you get a free bunion removal or whatever.
And a lot of them. So what's your take on that? I mean, I've had a good number of them say, should we give out gift cards, or should we, if you give us a review, we'll give you a Starbucks card or whatever it is. I know what I say, but what do you say? What's
That
your,
I'm not a fan of that.
me either. Why are you not a fan of
Well, I don't I don't know. It feels weird. Like, oh,
that?
well, here, 25. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Like I'm buying it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had my tire guide. They sent here, if you give us 10 stars, we'll give you $25 off. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
To me, doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm like, people who are happy. Now I live in the Midwest. Midwest people are, I mean, this is a compliment. Very, very nice people. Maybe it's different. I grew up in a different part of the country. Maybe you have to push a little harder, but it's
No.
just that people don't think about it. They
Yeah,
just don't think, that was so great. That was such a great annual exam. The
right.
next thing I do is I got to go give this guy a review. It just doesn't
Mhm.
register. But
Right,
I would, oh yeah, sure, I'll help out. I just don't think
right.
of it. So,
So what's interesting is I just went to a new eye doctor.
mhm,
Yeah, the reason I chose them was because of the reviews. They had I don't even know how many 5-star reviews. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be great.
mhm,
What's interesting though, when I was in the exam room, they had on the wall a poster.
mhm,
Please, if you're happy, like here's a QR code.
mhm,
Please leave us a review.
mhm.
Because I even asked the doctor, I said, what was it that you have so many 5-star reviews? She's like, I don't know. She didn't even know.
You don't know?
She didn't
I
even
was
know.
hoping
She's
you were
like,
going to say there was actually like, let's all emulate this doctor. This is going to have, you
yeah.
don't know.
Well,
Holy
here's the
cow.
funny story. And so they have all these 5-star reviews, right? So the doctor wasn't that great. But after I was done, I got the text, told, please
Yeah.
leave us a review. I also got an email, please leave us a review.
Hmm.
So they're asking for this stuff all the time. My experience there really wasn't that great, yet they had all these 5-star reviews.
Hmm.
So, but they were asking, it was all different forms, a poster, a text, an email, it was
Hmm.
all over the place.
Hmm.
So obviously something's working, you know?
Well, they're asked, it's like volume.
That's
It's
right.
kind of a volume game, right? So for
That's
every
right.
10 you ask, you're not going to get 10. But the more
Right.
reviews come in, if you're really diligent about it, and you
Right.
you ask, I love the poster with the QR code idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you're sitting in there for however long and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's interesting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I had one, here's another one. So there's the fact that you need to ask. How about this? When to ask? I'll tell you a funny story. A current client, um, they they're an attorney, they're a law firm. And what they used to do is you would call them up, you're not really a client yet, and you've had like a consultation, or I think you are a client, you've had a consultation, and that's it. And then they would ask for the review, but no work had really been done yet. And so,
Oh.
and they weren't getting a lot. And they said, what do you think? And we were on a Zoom, I made a face. So like, what's the face? I'm like, my head just flashed to, I'm at a restaurant. We just ordered our dinner. Nothing's come yet. And I'm asked for a review. How was your experience? I don't know yet. It's good so far, but why don't you wait until
Right.
after the work's done? And then they actually asked for a review the next day. And the person said the same thing to them. Like, can I wait till the work's done? And then I'll happy to review you. Oh yeah. Okay. So they changed that. So there's the when to ask. I
Okay.
never would have thought of, why would you have, but they did. There's all sorts
Right.
of, yeah,
Right.
there's all sorts of when to ask.
Right.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier about, kind of bury the 1 star with 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Talk more a bit about that, because it sounds obvious, but man, I just get pushback on it.
So this is kind of interesting, maybe. So one of my clients, when I first started working with them, they only had like, I think 5 reviews or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a 5-star, they had a 4-star, and a 1-star. Yet their rating, and if you do the math on that, you think the rating would be 3 point something or whatever,
Sounds
right?
right.
A
Yeah.
5, a 4, and a 1.
Mm-hmm.
Their rating was 2. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, those 1s have more weight than the 5s and the 4s. It was weird. So then it seemed like, uh-oh, the math doesn't work here. So if you have like 5 1s and 5 5s, it's not
Was
going to
this
be a
on, do
3.
you remember where it was, Google or where it was
I think
on?
it was Google.
Doesn't sound
Yeah.
right.
It was weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, so you really need to bombard with the 5. You need way more 5s
Yeah.
to get rid of some of these 1s, or
Yeah.
not get rid of, but to,
Yeah.
change that.
Yeah.
But it can't be an equal number. And you're right. And if 80% of the comments are positive, there are there,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why we need to be.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you this, Carl, what was interesting about this webinar,
Mm-hmm.
it said with these positive comments, if you share them with your staff, right, which we don't do a lot of times, but it's a huge motivator for staff.
Yeah.
When they hear how great, oh, Cindy at the front desk was so compassionate. Well, how does
Mm-hmm.
Cindy feel about that, right? So it's great for your entire staff to
Mm-hmm.
share all these positive things as well. It's good
Mm-hmm.
for your business, good for morale. It's good for everything. World
Praise,
peace.
just praise is not natural, I guess, right? We're talking about
Right.
no patient needs, happy patients don't think to leave a review.
Right.
But then the recipient of the reviews, you're right. They could take them and say, bring some positivity into the office.
That's right.
And
Right.
we always talk about the context of, look, it's never fun to get a negative review, but there might be some legit feedback in there.
That's right.
If handled properly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had some clients too where it's similar to what you said, old, and it's like one guy had 1 1-star review and that was it. And he'd been in business for like 15 years. I'm like, Rob,
Mm-hmm.
if this was true, you'd be out of business. You would suck
Right.
because that's what this one says. It can't be true. It's not the
Right.
proper context.
Right.
So get the word out and get some reviews and some positive reviews. And then if a negative one comes, so if you have 30, if you get a bad review and it's one of a handful, the reader of those reviews is going to look at that and go, what's wrong with that practice? But if instead, a small handful of negative reviews is buried by 40 or 50 or whatever positives,
That's
it
right.
flips, right? The reader says, I wonder what's wrong with that person,
Right.
not the
Exactly.
practice,
Exactly.
It's the total flip.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I look at the date of these things.
Mm-hmm.
If like they've got a whole bunch of 5-star reviews, but they were 4 years ago, and all
Yeah.
the recent ones are 1 stars. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why aren't there any more positives? So I look at that stuff all the time as a consumer,
You're not the
not
only
just with
one.
doctors, with all
Yes.
companies, right? I'm like, oh my
Correct.
God,
And
the
and
last
may
15 reviews were ones.
right.
Uh-oh.
And maybe you're more in tune because of what you do, and same for me, but we are not on islands.
Right.
We are not like
Right.
this. People look at this stuff. And so
Right.
big message to listeners out there, like it or
Yeah.
not, what strangers say about you matters. They can
Right.
say it without you ever knowing it, or you can't take it down unless it's
Right.
really defamatory or crosses a really material line. And on top of needing a good number of reviews, you need new reviews because people look at that exactly, Barbara, what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
If your best reviews were 3 years ago, people are going to wonder, were their best days 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Why are so many people complaining? Do I really want to be a part of that?
Right.
No, it's so
Exactly.
easy to find a competitor to you that,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
you've got to mind
Yeah.
the store. And it could be, I find, I don't know what you like. I ask every client, like, or every client, like, do you have like a new patient checklist or anything where you could add a new final step? Ask them for a review. Anything
Mm-hmm.
to try to build a habit. Like, do you look for that with them? Try to build that with your clients? Like, what works? Just like building the habit,
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I personally am a big proponent of processes in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like when greeting patients, wearing name badges, rooming them, exit procedures. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you put it as part of the exit procedure. And you're
Mm-hmm.
right, it's a checklist.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we gave them the after visit summary. Yes, good. We reviewed lab result information, the specialist appointment. We reviewed that and then talked about a review. I mean, it's part of the problem. Chick-fil-A, right? You've been to Chick-fil-A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have very specific processes on things. When
Mm-hmm.
someone thanks you, you say, my pleasure. Well, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with doctors'
Mm-hmm.
offices, right? Create the process and then you can
Mm-hmm.
get consistency.
Do you find them receptive? I get resistance. I don't know. I still try to. Sometimes there isn't a checklist, so they'd have to create one and then make the final step.
That's correct.
But other times there's a checklist. I'm like, well, can you just add this step? And there's like this body language. I don't know. What is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But the people who are on board, boom, they're on,
Yeah.
they do it. But you're
Yeah.
right. There's it can be resistance.
Maybe it's just change. I don't know. It's just icky to ask for reviews. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I think if we, like what I found is if I can give them the verbiage, like don't say, please give us 5 stars, but hey, we would appreciate your feedback. We appreciate you and we appreciate your feedback. Here's a link.
Yeah.
That's it.
It would help us out. Super easy for you.
Yeah.
Take you no time at all.
Yeah. Just, and people like to help, most people, they want to be helpful. Like, oh, I can help you. Oh, wow. Great.
Yeah. And it's easy. Sure. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Make it easy for them. Yeah.
Got to make it easy. Got to make it easy. You got to ask multiple times.
Yeah.
And then, when you get reviews, you can actually promote that you have them.
Right.
Which some other people do.
Right.
And not everybody does that.
Right.
Yeah.
On the website, you could put them in your whatever, social media.
Yeah. On
posts, if they do them.
You do a billboard, check our reviews, whatever. I mean, it's not some separate thing you do.
Right.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know. Do you have like a preference on, net promoter, thumbs up, 5 stars, anything? Do you?
Well, I really like the Net Promoter Score
I do
question.
too.
I read this great book about it. I don't remember the name of it. It's somewhere, but it was talking about how that question, which is how likely are you to recommend the
1 to 10.
practice, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it's 1 through 10. And it said that is really a question of loyalty. Like that's
Hmm.
really going to show patient loyalty. Like, yes, I will refer this. Yes. Like, no, no.
Yeah.
Well, wait, uh-oh. And then why did you leave that score? That's the
Hmm.
second question. I really like that because you could ask, how was the wait time acceptable? Yeah,
Hmm.
it was all right. Did the doctor communicate? Yeah, he communicated.
Hmm.
Like, does that
Yeah.
help me? Does
No.
that tell me if they're going to come back?
Yeah.
No, but the Net Promoter Score does.
Right.
And then why did you rate it that way? Oh,
Hmm.
because I was greeted immediately. The front desk was great, or the
Hmm.
doctor was very clear. This is really helpful,
Hmm. Yeah.
Parking was horrible. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You
And you
can
get
learn a lot.
you can, and what's on people's mind. Right. So if you answer a 9 or a 10, then that
Uh-huh.
means it's an indication of loyalty, which is a big deal, right?
Yes.
If I refer my
Yes.
doctor to you, Barbara, I must I must feel good enough to put a little bit of my reputation on the line. And
Hmm.
that's why it's a good measure, Net Promoter
Yes.
Score. And then the optional is, so Carl, why would you take that risk and recommend us to somebody else? Man, because you communicate so clearly, or because the front
Right.
desk is so great, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I
if they
know.
do the lower numbers, why did you write that? Well, I waited for 3 hours
Hmm.
in the reception room. No one said anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
You can learn a lot.
Or I showed up and it turns out you were closed and you didn't update your hours. And
That's right.
yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I actually had that happen once to
You
me.
did?
I did. And
Oh my God.
they were adamant they told me. And so say, look, I know what I say to people in this situation is, look, the odds are that I'm right, because I only have to keep track of one conversation, mine with
That's
you,
right.
and you have to keep track of hundreds. So
Right.
can't you just say the odds are in my favor?
Right.
Just throw me this here, because I'm not going to lose the odds question here, and I'm probably right.
That's right.
So I don't go out,
Um,
I walk away. They're like, well, it had to be you. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. There's a
did you go
thousand.
back?
No, no,
Oh,
no. Because I'm like,
interesting.
there's too many choices. And
Right.
really, like, what else are you going to argue with me on? It's not my
Right.
test result. Like that. You didn't send this seriously, whether it's rational or not. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying listeners just say yes to whatever a patient says, but come
Right.
on, anyway.
Well, you know what? Remember my doctor that I went to, the
Yeah.
optometrist with the
Yeah.
5 stars? I didn't go back there.
Why not?
I didn't like the way the doctor communicated. I didn't really understand what was happening. I felt like I overpaid.
Wow.
Like I got glasses, right? But I was like, nope,
Hmm.
not going back. Isn't that interesting? Even though they had all these 5-star reviews.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, that's because they're
Mm-mm.
plastered with QR codes, which is a
That's
very smart
right.
thing. And high volume practice. You got to get enough people,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Well,
I recommend you have the 5-star reviews and you deserve the 5-star reviews,
yes.
right? So not like that doctor's office. That's no good. But we
No.
need to have, we need to them.
Yes. You got to ask, which is a good kind of segue is first, there's 2 questions I kind of like wrap up questions I ask every
Okay.
guest. Yeah. The first one is there anything you think I should have asked you about in the context that we're talking about, but just didn't ask you?
Oh, I do. I have a question for you because we're talking about reviews
Shoot.
and HIPAA and replying to these 1-star reviews. What's your
Mhm.
recommendation on that? Because
Get yourself
what
a
I
good
did,
get yourself a good healthcare attorney who can really advise you on that. And the reason I say that, first of all, I'm not an attorney, and this is a legal question. I can't get healthcare attorneys to agree with each other on this. The most conservative say don't reply. Any kind of reply, you are disclosing that there's a doctor-patient relationship, which you cannot do, and so don't reply. The less conservative
interesting.
say, well, you can reply, but you just can't disclose that there's a doctor-patient relationship. So if you got a really, really bad review, you could reply with something to the effect of, we'd like to understand your comments better. Please contact us at blah, 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 and ask for blah.
Okay.
but I can't get them to agree. And so I would say find a good healthcare attorney, see what they maybe
Okay.
ask a few different opinions and see what they say.
Okay.
I've never heard of anybody really getting anybody sort of suing or whatever, but
Right.
why would you want to play with that and find
Risk
out?
it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I've been told. And I think
Yes.
personally, I think we'd like to understand your comments better. It makes more
Right.
sense because you haven't said, like, you can't even say, we're so sorry you feel that way. Please call us at. I wouldn't even risk,
Oh,
I would be very almost clinically sterile. Please contact us at, we'd like to understand your comments better.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're
All
so
right.
sorry your appointment didn't go well.
You can't say that.
Because you just
Oh,
acknowledged there was an appointment,
oh,
and only
okay. All
patients
right.
have appointments. So yeah.
Okay, that's good feedback. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah. Another thing where a healthcare attorney could advise. So I'm in Illinois, and so if you left, I was Dr. Carl White, you left me a review on my Google listing, you can say whatever you want on Google, that's fine. But if I take any part of your review and put it on my website, and that review makes a claim, Carl's the best. Problem, because that's a claim, that's like a superlative claim that isn't necessarily backed up by anything other than what people say. And so you have to be very careful about the promotion of your review. And this is state by state. At least I think it's state by
Okay.
state.
Okay.
That's the context that it was introduced to me at. So just got to be careful what you do with your reviews as a healthcare, as a covered entity under HIPAA and whatever state laws are. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. It's a fun world we live in here in healthcare land,
Yes.
but it's worth it. And then the other question I ask everybody is, all right, so, we've beaten people over the head here with the importance of reviews. You got to ask, hopefully it's sinking in. And, some listeners are saying, all right, I want to get started on this. It's high time I did it enough. Where would you recommend they start? Just something simple and tangible. They could, as soon as they're done listening, they could say, all right, I'm going to go do what Barbara just told me to do and
I
fix our
think they
reviews
contact
issue.
you and help them.
I think they
'Cause I
contact
think-
you.
They have to have the right people like that behave correctly, right? So
Yeah.
we have compassionate people, we have front desk folks that are great. We communicate wait times, like we need to do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need, I think, the technology to help them get the reviews,
Mm-hmm.
to help make them easy for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a combo. Make sure, are we behaving correctly? Number one, and then two, ask for the reviews, get that technology. And it's not expensive.
It doesn't have to be
Get that.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in, there's a number of, in dental, I know this is true, and in others, there's a number of like practice management systems that handle scheduling and a bunch of other stuff. Some of them have like a reviews module, whatever they call it. Try it out, turn it on,
Right.
If you don't go that route and you want to pick out some other piece of tech, just make sure it's HIPAA compliant. Not all are. The one we use is. We are HIPAA compliant as well, but not all of them are, and they don't say it. It's really something everyone misses. Nobody thinks about HIPAA compliance in marketing, but this is an area where, and the reason is because if you ask me for my name and my cell phone number or my email address to email me or text me, put together name plus either one of those, according to many healthcare attorneys, counts as protected health information. So if you share that with anybody, they have to be under your HIPAA umbrella. So make sure those boxes are checked. But you're right, it doesn't have to be expensive. It's got to be simple.
Yes.
Tons of choices out there. They're all pretty good.
Yes.
So yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Yeah, Barbara, thank you again. It's I got to have you on a third time because there's so much. Also, Barbara works a lot with hospitals, private practices about the patient experience. And on the previous episode, which we'll link to the show notes to this current episode, something like clinical care was something like the 6th or 7th most important, most cited reason why people choose a provider and stay with the provider. 6 or 7, you can like it or not, but I believe the stat, even if it's 5th, right? It's not first. You're supposed to be good clinically. You're supposed to be. It's not why you're better unless everyone around you is terrible, right? Which is not really the case. And so Barbara's world attacks those first 5 or 6 reasons. And if you're wondering why patients aren't coming back when they should, this is probably where you ought to start. And Barbara's one of the masters of this. So keep her in mind. So thank you for coming on again.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we'll put all your contact information in the show notes so that anybody who wants to contact you can. And a couple of points before we wrap up. First, if you own a practice and you've got some experience on the business side, we know you do because you are running the business that you think others would benefit from, or if you're someone like Barbara or me that serves private practices and you've got some experience to share, either way, we want you to come on Practice Care so that you can share your knowledge with the world and help everybody else who listens. In the show notes for Barbara's episode and every episode, there's a link, a couple of questions. Tell us what's on your mind so we can schedule you as soon as possible. And finally, subscribe to Practice Care on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Google. We're on lots of major platforms if you haven't done so already, so that you can get new episodes every week as we release them. Thanks very much, and until next time.